You're watching the Coaches Roundtable on the Armstrong Neighborhood Channel. From the Butler Cubs Athletic Association at the Coaches Roundtable, I'm Ed Codi, and we will start off today with Spotlight featuring our male and female 2020 Armstrong the Coaches Roundtable Athletes of the Year. And with us here, representing our female athlete of the year, three-sport star from Freeport High School in basketball, soccer, and track, Sydney Shemansky. Sydney, congratulations on a great high school career.
Thank you very much.
Let's just take a look. I want to give you credit for what you did. For example, in basketball, your achievements are unbelievable. 1,000 career points. You led the team in points, rebounds, assists, and steals. We've done several of your games against quality team North Catholic, and we noticed how hard you played from the beginning to the end. All section first team, 3 straight years. You're going to attend Seton Hill and play basketball there. Before I come back to that, soccer, a team captain in 10th grade, WPIL and Trib Sports all section, team MVP, 11th grade, you're the leading scorer, 94 career goals, and in track, unbelievable, 2017 WPIAL AA gold medal in the 800. And then in the PIAA, you took 5th with a new school record in the 800, WPIAL silver in the 800, and PIA silver in 2018, 2019 3rd place in the 400, 4th place in the 800. What a career. Tell us how you got started in all these sports.
Well, I started in basketball. I think that was my first sport, and I started playing at the YMCA, and I fell in love with it ever since then. Then I started soccer, and maybe when I was 4 years old, and I played softball as well, and many other sports leading up to that. But obviously track was my first year running it, my freshman year, and I loved it ever since then. So.
Well, actually, in college, Sydney, you could play any one of these 3 sports.
Yeah.
Is it hard for you to give up the other 2?
It's very hard. It was probably the hardest decision of my life to choose what sport I wanted to go into. And it's hard that, you know, I can't play soccer again and can't run track again because I'm playing basketball. But it was very hard for me, and that's why I made my decision so late in the game to, you know, make my college decision.
I'm sure it was difficult.
Yeah.
And when you go to Seton Hill, tell us, what are you going to study?
I'm going to be studying the physician assistant program. It's a 5-year accelerated program.
And when you look back on your career at Freeport High School, what are you going to take with you?
Oh wow, literally every single memory I've made with my friends and in my sports, I will never forget that.
Well, Sydney, it's a delight to have you. 3-sport star, 11 varsity letters in your 4 years of participation. Congratulations to you and good luck to you at Seton Hill. We will be following your career.
Thank you very much, I appreciate it.
I'll be back with our male athlete of the year. I am back for the presentation of our 2020 Male Athlete of the Year. This individual, in his 4 years of playing basketball, led his team to 3 WPL championship games, climaxed last season with Butler's first WPL championship since 1992. We are talking about Ethan Morton for the 2nd straight year, our Armstrong Coaches Roundtable Male Athlete of the Year, over 2,000 career points, over 900 career rebounds, nearly 700 career assists. He's made, you name the all-star team, the section team, WPIAL, Pennsylvania Player of the Year, WPIAL Player of the Year, and here accepting for Ethan, his high school basketball coach, Matt Clement.
Thanks for having me. Obviously, Ethan is unable to be here because he's at Purdue already, getting ready for hopefully a Big Ten season if everything cooperates. And you know, what an honor. What an honor for Ethan. You guys, you know, the show is such a supporter of my team, and all the teams in Butler County, but quite an honor. Everybody knows how much Butler means to Ethan, so to get this award is quite an honor for him.
Matt, I've been around a long time, seen a lot of games, a lot of seasons. I don't think there's been one that will compare to this. And so many games, the regular season, the Pine Richland, and then the playoffs, when it seemed defeat was imminent, Ethan stepped up, put the team in his back, and just took control of the game. Did he have to get that takeover sign from you, or is just something that was innate in him?
Well, I mean, because I have a son near him, I've been around him playing since he was in second grade. And he's always had that takeover ability, and I think as he's matured and he's gotten older and older and older, he's kind of put himself in a position where he knows when to do it. But a takeover for him can be a pass. It can be a big rebound. It can be, making foul shots. It's not just go and score points. Yeah, key blocks or a timeout he calls. Like his IQ is so high that I think that's what makes him unique as a player, is when you talk about him taking over those games when they seem dire at times, sometimes it was the pass he threw, not the shot he made, or not the, or taking a charge even some of those games late. And that's the true sign of a player, and I think that he helps everybody else step up in the same way.
Well, over 2,000 career points, that's something I don't know if it'll ever be broken at Butler. And I said this to him last year, and I'm going to say it again. He takes his place, a great pantheon of Butler athletes over the years with the Sauls and Hanratty, Frank Lankowitz, and Kelvin Bowser, and track, including yourself. He could be talked in the same sentence, in the same breath with the Butler greats.
Absolutely. I mean, and he deserves to be. The numbers are, when you talk to 2,000 points, but then you throw in 900 plus rebounds, and I think it's 700 plus assists, and almost averaging a triple-double the last 2 years. It's numbers those kind of numbers, like the overall view of the numbers, will never be seen again. I always tell people, I hope we have a lot of people that score 2,000 points. We'll be all right. But I think that the overall package and the way he played, along with the person he is and the care he had for the program, there'll never be another one of him. Somebody might break his records, but there won't be, I just don't see another person that affects in so many different ways that he did and cares as much as he did, and that's what makes him so unique.
He's going to Purdue. He's at Purdue already, a quarantine until he can start practicing again. Many schools were after him, a lot of outstanding schools. Why did he settle on Purdue?
Well, it was Ethan is a loyalty person, and he really cares about the relationships he was forming with, he formed in his life, but especially with all these college coaches. This wasn't an easy decision for him, because I think unlike a lot of normal recruits, it wasn't just a name that was calling. It was these different coaches he was building a legit personal relationship with. And I think he narrowed it down to 7 or 8 of them. And I think he looked at the situation at Purdue as a situation that he felt comfortable with. He felt comfortable with a lot of coaching staffs, but it was a situation he felt comfortable with the coaching staff, the style of play. He kind of had a feel. He'd been out there enough that he had a feel for the people that were going to be there. He had played against and with some of the recruits that were coming in with him, and and it wasn't too far away. And I think the whole thing. I think he made a good decision. He had a lot of good decisions he could have made, but I think he made a good decision. And Coach Painter, he recruited him hard and came to Butler quite a few times. A lot of times people didn't see him because he mixed in with the crowd, but he put a lot of his view of how Ethan could help him. I think he valued what Ethan does well, and he didn't just take him because he was a number recruit.
Well, Matt, once again, thanks for coming here and accepting this award for Ethan. I can't think of anyone more deserving, back-to-back athlete of the year here, and we're going to follow his career. It won't be hard, and we wish him the best of luck. Thanks for joining us.
Well, and thank you for everything you do for the program in Butler County with your show, and it is an honor for me to be here to accept this for Ethan, because he means a lot to me and to our program, and to be here and to get to do that, I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. I'll be back with Alan George. I am back with 2 of the most astute sports analysts in the country. To my right, the Swami George Abraham. To my left, the Tiger Albert Campman. And last week, per request of the Tiger, he wants to comment on the passing of Johnny Majors.
Yeah, Johnny Majors at Pitt, at that time, became one of the best teams in the country. And today is Eddie and George both. It's hard for people to believe that they were one of the top 5 teams in the country. But I will say this, and people it was unlimited recruiting then.
They bring in 70 football players.
Yeah, they brought in 70 of the best in the country in 1 year and decided which 50 would be the best ones to keep. And so it's way different. You can't do that today. It's somebody you get. So you could never turn it around that quickly as Johnny Majors did.
And amazing that year, the year before, Pitt was either 1-9 or 1-10. His first year, they go 6-5-1. What a huge jump.
And he won everywhere he went. Here's his key. He hired great assistants. He knew the key: recruit and get great assistants, and you win.
A couple things about him the fans may not know. He lost the Heisman to Paul Hornung of Notre Dame, who was under 500.
2-8.
And Majors had played for his father. I was telling Al last week, one of their big plays was the quick kick on 3rd down and flip the field. He was a great kicker on top of everything else.
You know, you mentioned the staff that he had, and George Link, who taught at Butler, was a guard on their 76 championship team. And I asked him about that staff. You know who he said was the brains of everything? Jackie Sherrill.
Jackie Sherrill, huh? And Jackie Sherrill came on and took 3 teams 11-1, and even took them to another level, and then money went out. Money went out.
3 straight 11-1 seasons.
Yes.
Texas A&M, they offered all this money, and from what I read, and I'm going to read because I don't talk to Jackie Sherrill personally, both him and Majors have both come out and said they wished they stayed at Pitt. That's interesting.
Hey, good Jackie Sherrill story. He's at A&M, and they want to take the band and the song girls to some bowl, and they need $250,000. So they decide they're going to have a whistle-stop tour like the old days. First stop, this big cowboy hat guy raised it. He said, "Coach, how much do you need?" He said, "2." Just got his checkbook out. He said, "Here, you got better stuff to do." That was the end.
That's Texas A&M.
A&M. Moving on, let's go to our stories of the week. Major League Baseball stuck in the middle and going nowhere. A season on the edge of a cliff. No season. Who is to blame? They can't get it done. Starting to turn off the fan base. And guys, if there's no season, here's who's going to be hurt by it. Not the Yankees, not the Dodgers, not the Red Sox. The small Pirates, Cincy, the White Sox, the Indians, Kansas City, and Baltimore. They lose a bulk of that fan base. It's going to be economic disaster for these teams.
I am part of that fan base you're talking about, Ed.
I know you are.
You know, this is not right. As I sit here today worried about the COVID virus, it's all I should be worried about. I'm worried about them, who's going to make millions and who's going to make billions. I don't like that, Eddie. They should be playing baseball. It really has put somebody like me who loves baseball on the hot seat. I don't like it.
See, the mistake people make is that they actually care about the fans. They do not care about the fans. And the other mistake people make is because the game is regional. It's not like Monday Night Football. I'll watch Miami and Detroit whether I'm in either place. Baseball, you root for the home team, so to speak. And if some of these seasons are short, some teams will be in it and they might just get more fans because they're in it. Because in a 50-game season, it's hard to be out of it.
Well, it's amazing in 1 year the drastic change.
Oh.
Last year's Major League Baseball draft was 40 rounds. They drafted over 1,000 players. This year, 5 rounds, 160 players. And the minor league pay, $20,000. 22 of the first 30 drafted were college players. College, baseball, and analytics, there's your new minor league system. And when you say, oh, all these rounds, well, let me tell you, Mike Piazza, Hall of Famer, was drafted by the Dodgers in the 62nd round.
Right down the line there's so many. There's going to be repercussions if we miss that. The great athlete in the school now, he says, listen, only 5 rounds, I'm going to end up playing another sport. Before they would just concentrate on baseball. They can't do that now because they had 5 rounds. I don't get drafted. Where do I go? And before, when they had all the, a kid who had confidence and had ability said, I'll get drafted in the 14th round. I'll show them I'll make it. They don't have that opportunity now.
And with the COVID, there was no spring film. There was 1 fewer year of spring film on top of it. And then you have, as you guys say, shortened it. Towns like Altoona and Erie, they just shut them down. No minor leagues.
They're all going to lose 2 franchises.
Absolutely.
In the minors. And from 250,000, some of the minor leaguers, down to 20,000.
They can't live.
No,
they can't live. That's what I'm saying.
Take it.
You can't make that choice anymore because a lot of guys don't realize they were making a good living in the minor leagues, still striving for that major. They can't do it anymore.
And in the NBA, there appears to be a union rift there where LeBron and some other top echelon players, they want to play. They get $300,000 a game with whatever games they're going to have left. Kyrie Irving and Dwight Howard, middle income players, so to speak, lots of laugh there. They said, why play? They don't want to play. Part of it, they said, is to honor the Black Lives Movement, and other players and commentators saying this is foolish. Charles Barkley said, you're risking disaster to go without basketball for nearly a year. You're going to lose a lot of your fan base. You're going to anger them.
What's coming out to me, Eddie, is the famous line that my dad told me a long time ago. You play sports because you love the game. And most kids I grew up with, when we grew up, that's what they did. They were not thinking about, I'm going to make these millions. I just love baseball. Now it's proof they don't love the game. They love the money in the game. There's a major difference. Why just go play? No, it's all money, agent driven.
And you hit a hard point there. That's why there's some animosity between the so-called middle income group and the upper echelon with LeBron. They don't want LeBron to be their spokesperson.
Yeah, because he's making how much money, George? Probably 5 times as much as.
What did he sign? A $500 million contract or something?
Yeah, he's covered the sport to the point where he speaks for the game, even though he probably shouldn't many times.
Well, I want to speak on this issue. The real damage here is not these millionaire players or the billionaire owners. It's all the workers for basketball.
Good
They're
point,
going to lose their jobs. Some of them have already lost their homes. They're losing their health care. There are thousands and thousands of these workers who may never get their jobs back.
Yeah, so you count the workers at the place, you count the bars outside the stadium that are working, the restaurants outside, you go on and on. This is a catastrophe in the waiting, Eddie. You brought it up. I am very nervous about baseball. It was already heading in the wrong direction. Now, I don't know if it can
You're
make
right.
it.
You know, there's a tertiary thing, too. The guy that delivers the pop to the stadium. No one thinks about that.
So many things, that's right.
The guy delivers the hot dogs. I mean, these guys are all out of jobs.
Well, you brought up COVID-19 in football. 6 University of Houston players tested positive. They shut down their workout program. We've seen at Oklahoma State, Arkansas State, Alabama, and Marshall that they've had players who've tested positive. So now there's a real concern about the start of this season. This is before all the football players will report in the middle of July. And it's not just them. It's all the band players reporting. You look at Michigan's band, Penn State, Ohio State, Notre Dame, Pitt. They have 300-400 members in the bands. You're bringing them all together on campus. I don't know how they're going to handle this. I don't even know what their plans are in handling this.
The last line was the big line, Eddie. You're on fire today, Eddie. They better have plans in place for the worst, then work backwards.
Yeah.
Don't plan for the best. Because I'm telling you, the worst, there's some things happening. They're not going to be 30 band members, 18 cheerleaders. They all get it. Where do you go? What do you do?
Where do they put them to segregate them from the others? It's just like when they go back at Thanksgiving. Many of them are going to finish virtually and finals virtually because they know a second outbreak is likely in November.
And you know who's concerned about a lot of this? The bettors and the guys who make the line in Vegas, because say Wednesday, Michigan star quarterback and a star defensive player go down with COVID. You change, will Michigan even say and give information to, say, Ohio State that these players are down? And if they don't, what does it do to the line? You got some real problems there, but let's not kid ourselves. betting on college football and pro football is huge.
Well, Eddie, I could say this. Ohio State staff may not know, but Vegas will. I'm telling, they have the inside track way more than the football team. They'll know the
They'll
first
have a mole
Oh, yes,
somewhere.
they'll have
You know
a
what
mole,
bothered
yes.
me more than anything is Ezekiel Elliott.
Tested positive.
His testing positive, and he has no HIPAA protection at all. Albert called one day and they wouldn't tell him what was wrong with his daughter.
Right.
There's no way that man's information should be public record.
And Houston has several players, the Texans
Yes.
with it. So, now the question for the NFL, do you delay the start of camps? Do you delay the start of the season? Do you abbreviate the season? There is so much money out there on the table.
Eddie, check number 4 for Mr. Eddie today. It has nothing to do with the disease. It
has to do with the money.
It has to do with the money. They're thinking how much can we afford to lose if we start here? How much can we? They're thinking money. They're not thinking people. They're not thinking one bit about that quarterback at Texas State. How much money are we going to win?
That's why the phony NBA playoff, they're trying to get Zion in there. The only reason is the owners start making their money in the playoffs. Same with the baseball. They don't care about those 50 games. They just signed a deal 2 days ago with Turner for $1 billion, and they're on 4 networks.
Well, guys, let me ask you this. Did you notice the big marriage this past week? The marriage is the tying of the knot between sports and politics. It's here. It's going to stay. I'm not just talking about the black athletes, the white athletes, colleges and pros. The athletes are demanding changes. They have gained a great deal of leverage on these issues and so on and so forth. We saw some of that with the NBA. We've heard players like Baker Mayfield make comments. Bill O'Brien's going to take a knee with his team. J.J. Watt. And then at Oklahoma State, star running back Hubbard calling out his coach Mike Gundy for wearing that T-shirt. And here's what he said: either changes are made or I will lead a boycott. So now he and Gundy made up. They had a little press conference. You had marches on the campus at Clemson, the incidents at Florida State, Iowa, Kirk Ferentz holding meetings with the team, firing the longtime strength coach. University of Texas, the black athletes have told the university that they will no longer entertain athletes or attend alumni events unless 2 things are done. 1, they get rid of the fight song, The Eyes of Texas. 2, they take down all the names off buildings with Confederate icons. And this is going to extend into the pros too. They have gained this upper hand, and once you get this kind of leverage, you're not going to give it back. So the coaches now, they're not just coaches. They better be psychologists to handle the locker room, and they better be spiritual leaders, and they better be willing to deal with these issues all season long.
Yeah, the days of us growing up are long gone. My daughters and my grandkids, this is going to be the normalcy for them. That's what they're going to say. What's different? This is what we thought the way it was. For us, it's a major change in what's going on, and I'll keep reading about it and learning about it because I have no idea where it's heading. I really don't.
I had 2 teams of all black players, and it was.
Oh yes, you did.
It was a learning experience because this was 25 years ago, and I had to learn rather quickly the thing I was not used to. These guys were from Philadelphia, Gary, Indiana, Harrisburg. They had come from different places than I did.
And the pressure's now on because Commissioner Goodell said that Kaepernick should have a place in the NFL. He hasn't played since 2015 and 16. Some team's going to come forward, at least give him a tryout. They have to at this point. I don't see how they, and there are a lot of supporters for him, not just black athletes, white athletes are saying he deserves a chance to be brought back in.
It's too late now. That shouldn't have been done before. That's the mistake they made. That the owners would not, even though he was a good enough quarterback to play, they were thinking about the seats. What were the fans thinking the whole time? Now that that's passed over, now they'll give him a chance. But at 32, not playing for 3 years, I don't think he can be close. Or how many years to the same player he was. It's a little too late for that for me.
And this voice that the athletes now have in college and in pro sports, it's not going to go away.
No, it's the normal now. For my grandkids, it's the normal. that's what it's going to be. It'll be interesting to see how the coaches handle it. That'll be the big thing.
Very critical. Coaches and general
thing.
managers.
Yes.
And the great defensive back, all-pro from Seattle and San Francisco last year, played at Stanford, very articulate,
Yes.
very smart. What's his name?
Sherman.
Richard Sherman.
Richard Sherman.
He's a leading voice.
Well, but he's always been a
NFL.
leading voice.
Yes.
He's all, see, I don't mind guys that were talking before, that led by example a long time ago. But there's guys stepping into the fray now that would never, now they're followers. And I like the guys that step up and like
Kaepernick didn't vote. I have trouble with that. He didn't vote.
That's what I'm saying. That doesn't make sense to me.
No.
You know, looking back in history, obviously, when Vince Lombardi coached the Packers and they had a roster of 35, he had 8 black players on a team, more than anyone in the NFL. And when his defensive end, Lionel Aldridge, was dating a white woman and engaged, Pete Rozelle called and said, you have to put an end to this, to which Lombardi told him, mind your own business. I'll take care of the Green Bay Packers. And when Lionel Aldridge came in, Lionel asked him about it. Lombardi said, I want 2 things out of you. You play your best when you play for the Packers, and who you love is your own business.
Yeah.
And Rozelle didn't challenge him. And lost in history, I asked you today, in the 67 or 68, was it Murtaugh?
The Pirates, I think it was 69, but I'm not sure. Yes, it was Danny Murtaugh with the Pirates, yes.
9 black players,
players
when they played the Phillies in Philadelphia.
And you know what's interesting about that? I listened to the game and never thought anything of it. Do you understand? That's the best part of that. Anybody in sports is the best place to deal with these, because when there's a championship won, the first person they're near, they're hugging. It could be whoever, and they are jumping there. And Bill Curry, who was with the Green Bay Packers, said his best friend ended up being Willie Davis. And he said, it took the Green Bay Packers for me to learn how great Willie Davis was. It's just sports is the way to deal with this. If everybody in the world could do it sports-wise, in my mind, it would work out a lot better.
See, Fangio said that, they slapped him down, and he had to recant the next day.
Yeah.
And when you bring that up, well, I think it was Willie Wood said about, they asked him about Lombardi, and he said, he's colorblind.
It's supposed to be.
Colorblind.
And if there's a coach who's not colorblind, then he shouldn't be coaching, or she shouldn't be coaching. That's the way it is. How well do you play for me? That's all. Do you belong on that field?
What do you guys think about this? I think it'd be smart for the coaches in college and the pros to get a player committee together so that these guys can handle these issues long before they get to the coach. It's almost too late. Let these guys handle a lot of this stuff. You pick your leaders.
I said it last week on our show that I believe there's going to be coaches hired just to handle these situations down. Not football situation, just the situation where we're heading in this world, and because that's the way it is in sports today, no question.
And as we finish up here in the final minute, it's not only a change for the athletes and the coaches, it's going to be a change for the fans.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, the fans are colorblind too. The fans want to win. But I tell you, whoever's pitching, and he's pitched a perfect game, they never look. They look at the numbers, the name, and they're rooting hard for him. That's what's so great about sports.
That's it for us here today from the Cubs Athletic Association. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.